This question is a great example about how narrowing our focus and showing our work really helps. So let's put that here. Show your work. Okay, that's our main strategy here. And so why is this question such a great example of it? Well, look at the question itself, right? It's very long and there's a lot of information in it. And so what we want to do is we just want to really get our brain to think about the right stuff. The passage most strongly suggests that beekeepers' attempts to fight mite infestations with commercially produced insecticides have what unintentional effect? So I could actually break this question down into 4 separate ideas that I need to think about. I'd love to get something about what beekeepers are doing. So that's number 1. I'd love to get something about fighting mite infestations. That's number 2. Commercially produced insecticides. I'd love to get information about that. That would be idea number 3. And then there's an unintentional effect. That's number 4. So an ideal answer is going to hit all 4 of those things. Now that doesn't always happen, but the more I can kind of think about that, the more that boxes that something checks off, the more confident I'll be in those answer choices. So let's see. Now we go to 46, and when we look at these line references, I'm keeping these 4 ideas in mind. The more of them I see, the better the line reference. So let's look at 1 to 2. Honeybees are hosts to the pathogenic large ectoparasitic mite Varroa destructor, Varroa mites. Well, that does not talk about the beekeepers. It does not talk about I guess it talks about the mite infestation. Doesn't talk about insecticides, doesn't talk about any effect. So maybe this has 1 out of 4. So not really great. I know it's wrong, but let's keep it for just the sake of argument here. 6 to 7. That is this. Little is known about the natural defenses that keep the mite infections under control. So again, does it talk about what beekeepers are doing? No. Does it talk about the mite infestation? Sure. Does it talk about insecticides? No. Does it talk about any effect? No, it does not. So again, this is just 1 out of 4. 31 to 35, all the way down here. Here we go. C. In addition, immunocompromised or nutritionally deficient bees may be further weakened when commercially produced insecticides are introduced into their hives by beekeepers in an effort to fight mite infestation. Wow, lots of stuff here. So let's go through it, right? Do they talk about beekeepers? Yeah, right. Oh no, I lost it. Beekeepers, here you go. Do they talk about the mite infestation? Yeah. Mite infestation at the end, commercially produced insecticides, insecticides here, and unintentional effect. So what would the effect be? This is the part where we kind of need to guess what the answer to question 45 is going to be, right? Keep it dumb, keep it simple. What might be an effect here? I'll highlight this instead. They're further weakened. Okay, that's all I'm going to go with for now. So there is something here that we can say is another effect. But let's look at D. We really like that. I would say that this is 4 out of 4 here, but let's look at D. You know, you never know. 47 to 50. That's over here. Mites could then be introduced to each hive with note made as to the choice of the bees and the effects of the mite parasites on the experimental colonies versus control colonies. Well, maybe it's the beekeepers introducing them. I don't see anything about insecticides, though. I definitely see mites, so that's the infestation. What's the effect? The effect is that some bees will choose something different. I don't know. See, I'm reaching. I'm trying to make it up. So I would say this is maybe 2 out of 4. So look, it's probably C. You're allowed to look at this and be like, yeah, that one checked off a whole lot of the boxes from the question. That's pretty good. But, the point of this step is not necessarily to pick an answer. It's just to kind of figure out what we have and what kinds of line references we're looking at. And now we can say, well, let's go to the choices for number 45, and hopefully choice C has a match, something that, makes us even more confident that it's right. So A, these unintentional effects. Okay, they increase certain mite populations. Well, that's not what this said. This said it weakened them, weakened the bees. Nothing about the mite population. So maybe the mite population goes up because the bees are weakened and they get more mites. I don't really know. But this doesn't seem obviously right, so I might leave it in, but I'm not loving it. They kill some beneficial forms of bacteria? Well, no, that's definitely not it. They didn't talk about bacteria there at all. They destroy bees' primary food source? No, they don't talk about the food as what the mites are doing. They further harm the health of some bees. Well, Yeah. In addition, immunocompromised or nutritionally deficient bees may be further weakened when commercially produced insecticides are introduced into the hives by beekeepers in an effort to fight mite infestation. So yeah, that seems to be right. It harms the health of the bees. They're weaker. Notice that that choice does not specify in what exact ways the health of the bees is harmed. That's great for our perspective, right? SAT questions, we really love when we have weak answer choices that don't get specific. This is very general. And so was our line reference, right? They're weakened. I don't really know in what ways they're weakened. I don't really care. They're just being general, and that's good enough for us. So as expected, line C is our support for choice D in number 45. And as always goes with these questions, we're not really diving deeply into the science. We're really focused on very narrow ideas. And I think here's a case where showing your work, trying to understand the ideas that you're looking for, really helps your brain visually find them in the lines, right? So in math, we show our work so we don't make careless mistakes. This is a great example of a question where if you show your work, you probably won't make a careless mistake, and you'll guarantee yourself 20 points on these two questions.